Alright everyone, welcome to my TED Talk. This is how you make pizza dough. All you need is flour, salt, and active dry yeast, little yeasty flakes. You can get little packets if you want, but I just get this thing because I make a lot and it saves some money. I use kosher salt. If you use table salt, you just want to use a little bit less than I do. And you don't need bread flour. I use bread flour because it has a higher gluten content. I also use whole wheat for flavor. I like the flavor that these two give me mixed together. But if you only have all-purpose, which is what that stuff is back there, you can use that and it works just fine. Alright, after the ingredients, all you need next is a bowl, something to measure water with, and a teaspoon. I use a food scale. It's not necessary. I just enjoy doing it. They're pretty cheap if you want to do it this way. But if not, you can measure by volume, and it works just as fine. Pizza dough is a very forgiving recipe. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to measure out 500 grams of flour. And it's pretty forgiving. And again, if you put in a little too much, that's fine. Honestly, I just reach in, I wash my hands, and I just pull some out, and I throw it back in the bag until I have the weight that I want. Just like that. Alright, so the next thing you want to do, after you do the 500 grams of flour, I reset my scale so that it's at 0. If you don't have a scale, 500 grams is about 2.5 cups. So just do that much. Again, pizza dough is super forgiving. You don't need to be precise. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my salt. I'm using kosher salt. If you're using table salt, you want to use a little bit less than I am. But so far it's just 1, 2, 3 teaspoons. And I want 16 grams of salt, or 3 teaspoons of it. And next up is the yeast. Now for the yeast, you don't have to measure it out or weigh it out. You just want 1 teaspoon of yeast. Alright, so after you have all your ingredients in the bowl, whether you measure it out by volume or by weight, this is just your dry ingredients. You can take a whisk, you can take a fork, or you can just do it with your hands if you're comfortable with that. And you just want to whisk all those ingredients together just to get them all mixed together. After that, you want to take your measuring glass, and you just want to put in about 350 milliliters of water. Alright. So, yeah, about that much. It's not super precise. Again, it's not a big deal. So, now, after you get your water ready, you're going to make a little well in the center. Again, I just use my hands. I've washed my hands. It's fine. If you don't want to use your hands, you just use a little spoon. I suggest a wooden spoon, but if you just have like a plastic spatula, that's fine too. And you make a little well in the middle, kind of like that. And then you just pour your water in. And again, it's not super precise. You want your dough to be on the wetter side, and again, you can even do this step with your hands. I've done it before. It's a sticky mess and it gets all over your hands, but if you don't have anything else to work with, you have tools built onto your body. But yeah, you just want to mix this together until the water and the dry ingredients kind of come together, and you want it to be on the stickier side. Alright, so after you get it all mixed together, again, I use my hands a little bit. You just want to make sure that there's no dry spots left. And you don't need to knead it super crazy. This is fine just the way it is. But you're going to cover this in plastic wrap. You're going to let it sit on the counter for 24 hours. And then after that, you have pizza dough. And it's ready to make pizza with. Alright, so I finished the dough. I just kneaded it a little bit more with my hands just to make sure there are no dry spots. I covered it with plastic wrap. This little press and seal stuff is great. But normal plastic wrap works just fine. So I'm going to let it sit on the counter for 24 hours, and that's going to do all the magic of kneading the dough for me, which saves me so much time. This literally took me like 3 minutes, an extra 5 minutes because I was recording. But yeah, that's it. So tomorrow, after that, I'm going to put it in the fridge, which is going to just add more flavor as it sits and kind of continues to work its little magic in the fridge. And then in 3 days, I am going to turn it out into little dough balls, just like that guy. And I can show you that step in 3 days. See you then.